Representative heuristic is our tendency to judge the probability of an event based on how similar it is to a typical case. The representative heuristic often makes us overlook other statistical information, such as base rates. For example, if we meet a person who is shy, introverted, and loves reading, we may guess that this person is a librarian, ignoring the fact that there are many more occupations where those traits fit. We are basing our judgment on the stereotypical representative image of a librarian, not on statistical information. Here's another example. Linda is a 31-year-old woman who is single, assertive, and highly intelligent. She studied philosophy in college. As a student, she had a keen interest in issues related to discrimination and social justice, and frequently participate in anti-nuclear demonstrations. Given this description, do you think Linda is more likely to be A, a bank teller, or B, a bank teller who is also actively engaged in the feminist movement? If your choice was option B, you've probably used the mental shortcut of the representative heuristic to arrive at your decision. In the experiment, most participants chose option B. The description of Linda as being deeply invested in discrimination, social justice, and anti-nuclear issues seems to correlate more closely with being a bank teller and an active participant in the feminist movement than simply being a bank teller. However, this is a judgment error known as the conjunction fallacy, where the probability of simultaneous occurrence of two events is incorrectly assumed to be higher than the probability of a single event occurring on its own. The probability of two events happening together in conjunction, such as Linda being a bank teller and also a feminist, is always less than or equal to the probability of either one happening alone, such as Linda being a bank teller. This judgment error often happens because option B seems more representative of the description of Linda, so it feels more likely. In reality, option A includes all bank tellers, whether they are engaged in the feminist movement or not, and therefore must be at least as probable as option B, if not more so. The representative heuristic as a mental shortcut allows for efficient decision-making by reducing the time and the cognitive resources needed to make a fast judgment. Despite its efficiency, this mental process of probability estimation can lead to grave errors when we disregard the prior probability, when we overlook the size of the sample, and when we have misconceptions of probability. The representative heuristic is a broader concept that explains how we make judgments based on how typical or representative something seems. And base rate neglect can be seen as a consequence of the representative heuristic, where people ignore the actual probability of a category in the broader population. The representative heuristics makes us form and rely on stereotypes. When we use limited information to categorize people into stereotypes, there is a propensity to form oversimplified and often negative perceptions that show a negative understanding or ignorance. Through the lens of the representative heuristic, some people may form negative views about entire groups, such as Muslims, based on the action of a few members from those groups. Comments like, "A Mexican immigrant committed a crime in my neighborhood, therefore most Mexican immigrants must be criminals." This kind of comments demonstrate the use of representative heuristic. The overgeneralization lacks empirical support and distorts reality. Any deviation from reliance on stereotypes takes additional mental effort. So, how can we counter stereotypes and minimize prejudice? A potent tool is to develop and maintain intergroup interactions. For example, in the United States, weapons are frequently associated with Black Americans. But is this stereotype associating Black Americans and weapons weaker in ethnically diverse neighborhoods? The answer is affirmative. Across 351 U.S. metropolitan areas, it was found that neighborhoods with greater ethnic diversity had a weaker observation between Black Americans and weapons. Regardless of your ethnic identity, if your immediate neighbors share the same ethnic background as yours, it's likely that you create an echo chamber, reinforcing rather than challenging your preconceived notions, stereotypes, and biases. A recent research study reported at least 2 stereotypes held by teachers, both white teachers and teachers of color. The first stereotype was that boys had superior mathematical ability compared to girls. The second stereotype was that white students had higher mathematical ability than Black and Hispanic students. In the study, 390 teachers, 87.6% female and 65.4% white, were asked to evaluate students' responses to 18 mathematical problems. The students' responses were randomly attached to names indicating gender and racial identity. Students named Tanisha and Connor submitted identical answers, the only difference being the gender and the racial implications of their names. The names Lakeisha, Emily, and Rosalia were suggestive of Black, white, and Hispanic female students respectively, while the names Tyrone, Todd, and Alejandra signified Black, white, and Hispanic male students. The teacher's evaluation of the students' responses revealed the stereotypes. Teachers of color favored white students, both boys and girls, over students of color, while white teachers showed a preference for boys over girls. Let's look at how lobbying and special interests can influence policymaking through the use of the representative heuristic. Lobbying groups and special interest organizations often have specific agendas they want to promote. To persuade policymakers, they may selectively present information or examples that seem representative of a broader issue, but are carefully chosen or even manipulated to support their particular viewpoint. To do so, they can focus on powerful anecdotes or extreme cases. They can make their issue seem more prevalent or urgent than it truly is. Anecdotes can be compelling and emotionally resonant, which can have a persuasive impact. They frame their issue in a way that it seems to be a representative problem requiring the specific solution they advocate. They use media campaigns to present their view as the standard or representative one, further influencing public opinion and subsequently policymakers. They may downplay information that contradicts their agenda. This creates an illusion that their particular concern or solution is representative of the whole situation. Imagine a pharmaceutical company that wants to promote a particular drug for a widespread health condition. They hire a lobbying firm to push for policies that favor the prescription and insurance coverage of this specific drug. The company provides data showing the effectiveness of their drug in highly specific or carefully chosen scenarios, ignoring cases where it has not been effective. They highlight a particularly successful case where their drug had a miraculous effect, making it seem like a panacea for the health condition. They frame the drug as the representative or standard treatment for the condition, downplaying or ignoring other treatment options, side effects, or other options. They launch an extensive media campaign showcasing testimonials from satisfied patients, further reinforcing the perception that this drug is the typical or representative solution. With those tactics, policymakers may be swayed into thinking that this particular drug represents the best or even the only solution for the health condition. Legislation may then be enacted to favor the prescription and insurance coverage of this drug, possibly at the expense of other potentially effective treatments. Such policy solutions don't necessarily reflect the full complexity of an issue serving the interest of a particular group rather than the broader societal good. Here is a hypothetical scenario of how educational administrators and school board members decide to adopt a particular curriculum or teaching method under the influence of the representative heuristic. A company has developed a new teaching method that uses a proprietary set of educational tools and software. The company claims that this method is revolutionary and can significantly improve learning outcomes for students. They have a vested interest in promoting this method to schools and districts. The company targets educational administrators, aiming to persuade them to adopt this teaching method across schools in the district. To achieve this goal, the company presents studies that show impressive results using their method, selectively focusing on schools or classes where the method was exceptionally successful. They ignore or downplay studies where the method did not perform or where traditional teaching methods were equally or more effective. They provide testimonials from a few teachers and students who had great success with the method, creating a representative image that this success can be generalized to all teachers and students. The company engages in lobbying efforts and forms relationships with board members and other influential figures within the educational system by donating to their election campaigns, either directly or indirectly, possibly through political action committees or other legal means. The contributions are framed as support for educational innovation or improvement. The company also runs media campaigns showcasing the supposed success of their method, framing it as the new standard in education, thereby shaping public opinion in its favor. Influenced by those tactics, educational administrators adopted this new teaching method across the districts, believing it to be a representative solution for improving educational outcomes. The decision, driven by the representative heuristic and the influence of the company's carefully crafted image of success, leads to policies that do not necessarily reflect the diverse needs and realities of schools, teachers, and students in the school district. Start observing your decision-making process and those of others around you. See if you can spot instances of representative heuristic. Please feel free to share your comments below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.